That is a chemical coordination. So the study of coordination is called cybernetics, as what I mentioned. One is brought about by the nerves, and that is the quickest one. Another one, what we call the chemical substance, namely the hormones. It is a slower one, because there is no point to point what we have conduction. The hormones are released into what we have the blood, from where they are being transported. Now, the chemical coordination is brought about by the chemical substances, what are called the chemical messages, otherwise called as the hormones. The hormones also called as autochines. The hormones also called as autochines. Okay, chemical messages or autochines. They are released by the endocrine system, the ductless glands, into the bloodstream, and they are being carried by the bloodstream to the target organs concerned, where they produce the profound effect. Now, a person by name Thomas Addison, he was the first person to analyze the nature of the disease caused by one, deficiency of hormone ACTH, adrenal cortical hormones or adrenocorticotropic hormone of the pituitary, as well as adrenal cortical hormones. He found also one disease, Addison's disease, and he is called as father of endocrinology. Thomas Addison is called father of endocrinology, and the study of endocrine glands is called endocrinology. That is nothing but the ductless glands. So we have in the body both glands with the duct, say an example of liver and pancreas, and they are called exocrine glands. Glands with the ducts are called exocrine glands. Glands without ducts are called endocrine glands. Now the study of endocrine glands is called endocrinology. So what is hormone? Hormozine. The meaning for that one, to excite. Now these are non-nutrient chemicals, not providing any nutrient at all. Non-nutrient chemicals, which act as intercellular substances, otherwise called as signaling molecules between the cells. They are produced in trace amounts by the endocrine glands, released into the blood. They are carried by the blood to the site of action, that is namely on the target organs, where they produce their metabolic effects or physiological effects. Now, the term hormone was given by Starling and Bayliss. Starling and Bayliss. The term hormone was given by Starling and Bayliss. And as they are carrying the message in the form of chemicals, they are named as chemical messages by Huxley. Huxley called them as chemical messages. Now, there is also another name what I mentioned earlier. The hormones also called as autochines. So, Bayliss and Starling, there's actually has suggested the name what is called the hormone, and the name that just what is called the functional name, chemical messages, was given by Huxley. Now what are the properties of hormones? Number one, you know that one, they are synthesized by the endocrine glands. Number two, they are never present in the food. We cannot take the hormones orally, because the hormones are either proteins or what we call steroids or anything else. They are never present in the food. They has to be produced only by the cells of the body. Now, they are of different actually combination, diverse chemical nature. Either they are what is called proteinoids or amino acid derivatives or steroids. And for example, the protein hormones, we have the examples of protein hormones, what we have calcitonin. It is a protein hormone. Calcitonin, or ACTH or LTH. These are all the protein hormones. Calcitonin, ACTH, LTH, these are all the protein hormones. Or they are in the form of glycoproteins, a conjugated protein, or in the form of glycoprotein. And that is simply protein or glycoprotein. For example, LH, FSH, TSH. These hormones are glycoproteins, a conjugated protein. This is purely protein, calcitonin, ACTH, LTH, and glycoprotein, LH and FSH, TSH. Now you see that all these hormones are glycoproteins. Or they are phenolic hormone, that is nothing but the amino acid derivatives. Say an example of norepinephrine. Norepinephrine, otherwise called as noradrenaline. Epinephrine, otherwise called adrenaline. Epinephrine. Then thyroxine. So these hormones are normally phenolic hormones or amino acid derivatives. Thyroxine, norepinephrine, or what is called epinephrine. Another hormone by name melatonin. This is a last year question. Melatonin. This is secreted by the pineal gland. This is secreted by the pineal gland. And this melatonin is actually, I am writing here, tryptophan, amino acid derivative. Tryptophan. Now, melatonin, a hormone from pineal gland, is a derivative of an amino acid tryptophan. This is year before last year question. Remember that one. So you have to know the chemical nature of the hormones. These are all amino acid derivatives. These are all glycoproteins. These are all what we call the proteins. Or they are normally steroids. Steroidal hormones, all the male and female sex hormones, and then adrenal hormones, adrenal cortical hormones. So an example of estrogen. So I am removing this one clear. Now the steroids, estrogen, the female sex hormone, androgen, the male sex hormone, or progesterone, the pregnancy hormone, or hormones of adrenal cortex. So these hormones are steroids: estrogen, androgen, progesterone, adrenal cortical hormones are all steroids. The derivative of cholesterol. Estrogen, the female sex hormone; androgen, the male sex hormone; progesterone, the one which is secreted during pregnancy; and also all the adrenal cortical hormones are steroids. And one hormone is fat in nature. That one came in the question paper. One hormone is a fat derivative, what is called prostaglandins. Or in some books it is given prostaglandins. Prostaglandins, a chemical alarm signal. This is a fatty hormone, a derivative of a fatty acid. Iconosic acid, hexanoic acid, pentanoic acid, iconosic acid. You see that one. So this is icosapentanoic acid. One acid is there. That one is found abundant in the case of fishes, and that is the one iconosic acid, and that is the derivative of the prostaglandins. So prostaglandins are simply a fat derivative. That's enough. Now this is not the chemical composition of hormone. That means they are diverse of chemical nature. Different chemical nature. Now, this is, remember the one came in the question paper, the derivative. Which one is the derivative of amino acid? Which one is the derivative of fat? Which one is the derivative of steroid? So, these are all the questions came in the question paper, where you come across the steroid hormones. Now, the hormones are normally soluble in water. What are the other properties? So, there is a mention about the diverse chemical nature of what we call the hormones. The hormones have different chemical nature. Now the hormones are soluble in water, and normally they are easily diffusible through the cell membrane because they are signaling molecule. They can pass across the cell membrane and bringing about the effect. Now they are always secreted not in large amounts but only in small amounts. They cannot be stored in the body. Once they are released, after that function gets over, they are being destroyed and eliminated. So that's why I mentioned after their effect, they are excreted in urine or inactivated or degraded. They are not being used once again. Once the function is over, they are being degraded, inactivated or excreted in urine. Now they exhibit target specificity. A particular hormone is acting only on a particular target organ. For example, FSH. It is acting only on ovary or in the case of testis. LTH. It is acting only on, for example, the mammary gland. And ACTH, another hormone acting only on what we call that is adrenal cortex. So they are highly specific. They cannot activate all the organs. They can actually activate only a specific organ, that is called target specificity. Now the reactions produced with the hormones are not reversible. They are not returning back to. All reactions are irreversible. Normally the hormones are not antigenic. You can give the hormone to anybody. It doesn't. Though it is a protein, it is not considered as a foreign protein. It is not considered as a foreign substance. It is not considered as an antigen. That's why the hormones are not antigenic. They cannot create any what is called incompatibility by way of stimulating the production of antibodies in the body, the recipient body, when it is being normally administered. They cannot have the ability of acting as an antigen. Now, actually, the timing and the amount of hormones released by each and every endocrine gland being controlled by feedback mechanisms. When there is a need, they are being released. When there is no need, they are being suppressed. This is called the feedback mechanism. When a need is there, the hormone is secreted. When there is no need, the hormone secretion is suppressed. For example, if the sugar level in the blood rises, now that stimulus is carried to the pancreas, where you have the islets of Langerhans. Immediately the hormone insulin is released to utilize the sugar to what we call the drop down the sugar level in the blood. So that is why I said when there is a need, they are secreted. When there is no need, they are not being secreted. Similarly, for example, when the sugar level is less in the blood, now the secretion of insulin is being stopped. And the secretion of another hormone, namely glucagon, is being elevated. So like that, they are working when by means of feedback mechanisms. Feedback mechanism is the one that is nothing but when the need is there, the stimulus is carried to a particular gland so that the secretion is increased. When its function is over, when there is no need for that particular hormone and the stimulus is carried to the same gland, so the gland suppresses its secretion. This is called feedback mechanism. Either to increase or to inhibit the secretions. Now we have the feedback mechanisms are operating. Now some few differences between hormones and enzymes. Hormones are carried by the blood. No, the enzymes are carried by the blood to the place of action. Now the secreted by endocrine gland, that is a ductless gland, secreted by the exocrine glands with the duct. Now the hormones of diverse chemical nature. They may be of steroids or proteins, amino acid derivatives, or we have the fatty derivatives. But all enzymes are exclusively proteins. They are made up of only proteins. Now I mentioned about hormone controlled reactions are not reversible, but enzyme controlled reactions are reversible. And finally, normally hormones cannot create a biochemical reaction. They can modify the existing reaction. For example, glucose gets converted to glycogen by hormone insulin, we are saying, but insulin never converts glucose into glycogen. It activates one enzyme, what is called hexokinase, the one which is taking part in glycolysis. That one only that is being activated with the hormone. So, hormone either activates a hormone or inhibits activates what is called a particular enzyme, a particular reaction, or inhibits a particular reaction, but never creates a biochemical reaction. So they cannot create a biochemical reaction, but modify the existing biochemical reactions, either accelerating it or inhibiting it. But all the enzymes create a biochemical reaction. One substance being converted into another by enzyme, but not by the hormones. Hormones either increase or decrease the rate of reactions, but never creates a biochemical reactions. Now let's go for the different types of endocrine glands in quick. So we have a number of endocrine glands in the body. There are certain glands with a definite functions, and there are certain glands, mixed glands. Also we have certain other structures. All are constituting the endocrine glands. Now glands with the definite functions, for example, you have the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, islets of Langerhans, what we call the, I made a mistake. So thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal gland, the pituitary gland, the thymus gland, even the pineal glands. We also have a mixer gland, what we call the heterocrine gland, the pancreas, dual functions, both enzyme secretion and hormone secretion. And then we have other structures, we have the gonads, the placenta, and the gastrointestinal mucosa, all are concerned with the secretion of certain hormones. Gonads, placenta, and even the wall of the alimentary canal secretes certain hormones. They are specialized hormones to regulate the activities of the digestive system. So anyway, we can have different types of actual categories. Glands with a definite function, glands doing actual dual function, that is called the mixer gland, otherwise called the heterocrine gland, and finally certain specialized glands. Along with their normal function, they do some other functions. Here are the locations, the endocrine system. We have the brain, two glands are located, one in the floor, what is called the pituitary, and another one dorsal to what is called the hypothalamus. So dorsally we have the pineal gland, ventrally we have the pituitary gland. We'll see the structure later. Now the next one in the neck region, what we call the thyroid, and then parathyroids, and then thymus. It is mostly concerned with the immunity function located on the surface of the heart, just upper part of the heart, just behind the heart. Then adrenal gland, they are located on the surface of a kidney. And we have the pancreas associated with the digestive system. In the case of female, the ovary, and in the case of male, testis. The cytogenic organ also concerned with the production of hormones along with their normal functions, namely their secretions. Namely what we have, that is a normal function, the production or the secretion of the sperms and eggs. Now the first one, pituitary. It is called as a master gland because it controls the activities of other endocrine glands. As it actually produces a number of hormones controlling the activities of other hormones, it is called conductor of endocrine orchestra or master gland. It is a master gland controlling the activities of other endocrine glands, hence called as conductor of endocrine orchestra. Where is it located? What is its structure? What is its weight? This is a small ovate gland present in a small bony cavity, what is called sella turcica. This is one question. This is a cavity formed by the skull bone sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone forms a cavity. In that cavity only the pituitary gland is large. This is a question. Sella turcica is associated with, that is a question. Sella turcica, a bony cavity associated with the pituitary gland in which it gets large. Now the pituitary gland is normally attached to the hypothalamus by means of what is called a stalk, a funnel shaped stalk, that is called infundibular stalk. That is called infundibular stalk. Now you can see the structure. Now this is the hypothalamus part, and this one, the pituitary gland formed of two components, anterior and posterior components, the pituitary. Now there is a stalk. You see that one, this is a stalk, infundibular stalk. And we have, there is a crossing of the optic nerve, that is called optic chiasma. Optic chiasma. So this is the location at the floor of the brain. Now it is being placed in a bony cavity like this. This is the bony cavity. This is what we call the sella turcica, covering the pituitary gland. What I am just drawing the line is the sella turcica, the bony cavity. Structure. Now anatomically it is divided into two components. One is called adenohypophysis, another one neurohypophysis. Two components. Now the hypophysis is another name for what we call the pituitary gland. Now it's weighing about nearly 500 milligrams. 500 milligrams, that's about the weight, about the size of a pea. That is what we call the green pea. Now adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, these are all the two parts of the pituitary gland. We will see the picture later now. And the adenohypophysis is distinguished into what is called pars distalis, otherwise called as anterior lobe. Pars intermediate is not well developed. It is fused with the pars distalis in man, but well developed in the case of frog. That is the intermediate lobe. And then what we have the structures. In humans, the pars intermediate is almost merged with the pars distalis. This region secretes what is called melanocyte stimulating hormone. It stimulates the activity of the melanocyte from the skin for the production of what is called the melanin pigment. So that's about the intermediate lobe. That intermediate lobe is not well developed in man. It is merged with what we call pars distalis, the anterior lobe. It stimulates the melanocyte, the one which produces the melanin pigment, the skin pigment. So it regulates the pigmentation of the skin. Okay, now let's go for the structure. Now this is the structural arrangement. Now we see that one, this is the posterior lobe, otherwise called as a neurohypophysis. And now we have just the pars tuberalis. This is normally, if you are taking the what is called adenohypophysis, this part is the adenohypophysis. It is having what is called the main lobe, anterior lobe, the pars tuberalis, a tubular structure present near the floor of the brain. And also this is otherwise called as pars distalis, otherwise called as a pars distalis. So pars tuberalis eminence, just normally present a small projection. And then just anterior lobe, this is the largest one, otherwise called as a pars distalis. And pars intermediate is fused with the pars distalis. The neurohypophysis, otherwise called as posterior lobe. So anyway, now the anterior lobe is called pars distalis. The pars intermediate, the intermediate lobe, and then pars tuberalis, a small projection just formed, just attached to the right floor. And now this is about, now this we have the ventricles, etc., the floor of the hypothalamus. Now this is what's called the infundibular stalk. Now this one is a infundibular stalk, you can see, and other structures later in the next diagram. Simply you can see that one. Now the functions of pituitary gland. So it secretes nearly altogether 6 hormones. These 6 hormones control the pituitary gland, particularly the anterior lobe I am talking about. We have the neurohypophysis also secreting some hormones. Now they also control the activities. So normally we have the hormones. Now these are the 2 hormones coming from the posterior lobe. I'm just about I can secrete. The remaining hormones are secreted by what is called adenohypophysis. One, ACTH. Another one, the growth hormone. Then we have FSH, LH together called as gonadotrophins. 2 hormones, FSH, LH together called as gonadotrophins, because they control the activities of the gonads. And then thyroid stimulating hormone, that is what we have the 5th one. And another hormone what is called prolactin. Another one, prolactin, controls the secretion of the milk, acting on the mammary gland. These are the 6 hormones: ACTH, GH, the growth hormone or somatotropic hormone, FSH, LH. That is, these are the 2 hormones collectively called as the gonadotropins, because they control the activities of gonads, namely the testes and ovaries. Then we have TSH, stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete the secretion. The prolactin hormone, a lactogenic hormone acting on the mammary glands. Then in addition to that one, we have the FSH RH also acts on what we have the ovary. Both are acting on ovary, releasing something different. We'll see that one. So anyway, now these are the 2 hormones, ADH and oxytocin, secreted by the posterior pituitary. Now we'll go for one by one, the hormones and the effects. Now the functions. The somatotropic hormone or growth hormone, it is a polypeptide. Now it is responsible for growth. It controls the metabolism, diverse actions of metabolism. All metabolisms taking part in what is called the growth. Now it is also responsible for the formation of bone. The formation of bone is called what is known as osteogenesis. This hormone is controlling osteogenesis, formation of bones, osteogenesis. It is also concerned with the formation of cartilage, what is called chondrogenesis. Chondrogenesis. So formation of cartilage is called osteogenesis. Formation of cartilage is chondrogenesis. So all these activities are related to the growth. It also regulates the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, etc. It also causes the retention of minerals, namely sodium, potassium, nitrogen, etc. by the what is called the kidneys, so that they are not being excreted. Then, these are some of the common functions. All these functions result in the growth of the body. But what are the deficiency diseases? Now, less production in children results in dwarfism, resulted with retarded growth. Then, excess production in children causes gigantism, that results in what is called excess growth. The person is leading to a height of 7 to 9 feet. Now, this is a question. When the hormone is secreted more than the normal level in the case of adolescents and adults, it causes acromegaly. So, disproportionate growth of the bones in the face. So, face, feet and hands. So, the chin bone is growing long. So, this is why I mentioned about acromegaly with the large limbs and lower jaw. The lower jaw being bones being grown. Chin bone just grows now. This is called acromegaly. Any word ending with megaly means enlargement. Megaly means enlargement. So acro means terminal end. So for example, hepatomegaly, enlargement of the liver. Splenomegaly, enlargement of the spleen. Okay. So these are all the megaly. The word refers to what is called enlargement. Any word ending with the suffix megaly, enlargement. Here acromegaly, the tip. Now the second one, thyrotropic hormone, it is having a number of amino acids of 211. It is a glycoprotein normally with the 211 amino acids, a glycoprotein. with a molecular weight of 28,000 daltons. Its molecular weight is about 28,000 daltons. Molecular weight is about 28,000 daltons. Now it stimulates the growth of thyroid gland and also its production thyroxine. So its target organ is thyroid gland, stimulating the thyroid gland to release the hormone thyroxine. Now ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone or adrenal cortex stimulating hormone. Adrenocorticotropic adrenal cortex stimulating hormone. Now it stimulates the adrenal cortex to produce the hormones aldosterone and cortisone or cortisol. I will discuss in detail. So cortisol, another hormone, cortisol. Okay. So, and again it is responsible for the stimulation of melanin pigments. Melanin pigments. Now if this hormone is deficit, now when ACTH hormone is deficit, so what we have the disorder? So Cushing syndrome. This is one Cushing syndrome. This is because of oversecretion. Cushing syndrome. We'll talk about again. This is because of oversecretion. And then we have Addison's disease because of undersecretion. Addison's disease. Addison's disease. This is because of the less secretion or hyposecretion. You can say less or hypo. This one is over or hyper. Less secretion. Cushing syndrome. Oversecretion of ACTH, because we have Cushing syndrome separately under the adrenal cortex also. When ACTH secretion is more, we have Cushing syndrome, that is because of hypersecretion. When there is actually less or hyposecretion and deficiency, we have Addison's disease. So anyway, now Addison's disease or Cushing's disease are related to the ACTH or adrenal cortical hormones. I'll talk about more about the Cushing syndrome and the symptoms also. Anyway, remember that one. Either it may be caused because of deficiency of ACTH or because of deficiency of adrenal cortical hormones. Likewise, we have the Addison disease also. Now, pituitary dwarfism, I mentioned about. So, deficiency of growth hormone or hyposecretion of growth hormone in children results in stunted growth. The child never attains puberty and do not develop secondary sexual characters. Puberty is not being achieved, mentally retarded. So we have a premature arrest of skeletal development. Before attaining puberty, what will happen? Now the arrest of skeletal development occurs, leading to dwarfism. What is the symptom? Short stature. They never attain puberty, I mentioned. They do not develop secondary sexual characters. Particularly these people are mentally retarded. So this is because of what's called pituitary dwarfism, others called midget. Now you see a girl, just actually a princess, an actress. That is with a dwarfism, an actress with a dwarfism, short stature body, an example. Simmons disease. Now this is not in the case of adults. So dwarfism, that is in the case of what is called children. Now in the case of adults, the hyposecretion of growth hormone in adults, this disease, Simmons disease. It's a rare disease. And the body becoming very thin. And a sign of premature aging, because of the falling of hair, the person looks like an aged person. So premature, what is called aging process occurs even before attaining the old age. The aging that is visible on the face, the wrinkle condition, the loss of hair, etc. Now gigantism. This is actually a spelling mistake. Gigantism. 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 This is because of the oversecretion of growth hormone stimulates the enormous growth of the bones in the case of, for example, children. So they even attain actual height of even 7 to 9 feet in the case of some people. So oversecretion in children causes gigantism. Now we can see the picture, a father and a son. So this person is a father and this person, you see that one a son, you see that one the height of the son. So he lived about 8 feet and 11 inches. Father is that one is just a half of his height. Okay, that is. So, and that is 1.8 meters of 6 feet. He is only 6 feet. Here you see that one 8.02 feet. A picture. Acromegaly, I mentioned. Excess secretion of growth hormone in adults, especially in the middle age, can result severe disfigurement, disproportionate growth. the severe disfigurement, and that is actually particularly the facial region. Disproportionate growth of the bones causes disfigurement of the face. That is called acromegaly. Now, what are the symptoms of this one? Increase in thickness of the lower jaw, what I described. Disproportionate overgrowth of the bones of the hand, feet, and also the face, and particularly premature death if unchecked. The person attains death. Now you see that one, the thickness of the lower jaw. This is one of the symptoms of what is called acromegaly, thickness of lower jaw. Now what are the functions of adenohypophysis? Continuing. 3 hormones we have completed. Now the follicular stimulating hormone is a glycoprotein. Its function is in female, it stimulates the growth and maturation of the follicles. That is in the case of female. And to produce eggs. And in the case of male, it's concerned with the spermatogenesis, nothing with the formation of what is called the sperm. Now it stimulates the maturation of the Graafian follicle and the growth of what is called the ovary in female to produce the egg. And in the case of male, it causes the augmentation of what is called the sperm. That is the production of the sperm. Now luteinizing hormone or LH hormone. It's once again a glycoprotein. In the case of female, it is called LH. In the case of male, it is called ICSH. Interstitial cell stimulating hormone in male, and in the case of female, it is called luteinizing hormone. Now it is concerned with the release of the egg from what is called the matured ovary, matured follicle. That is called ovulation. So it causes the discharge of egg. That is what's called the ovulation from the Graafian follicle, a process called ovulation. And concerned with the secretion of the female sex hormone, namely estrogen, along with the progesterone after ovulation. ICSH in male is named because it stimulates the interstitial cells of testis, the one which is found in between. Suppose, for example, this is the seminiferous tubules, the place of production. Now this is a seminiferous tubule, the place of production of the sperm. And this is the place of production of the sperm. So in between which we have certain cells are present in between the seminiferous tubules. That's why they are called as interstitial cells. The shaded region between the seminiferous tubules concerned with the production of what we call the male sex hormone, namely androgen, particularly the testosterone. A group of male sex hormones called androgen, one specific hormone is called testosterone. Now that's about what we call, that is LH or ICSH, different names but having actually same composition chemically. Now lactogenic hormone, it is also called as mammoprotein, prolactin, LTH. It is also called by another name LTH. It's called by another name LTH. Now its main function is stimulates the growth of the mammary gland and make it ready for what is called lactation. So it initiates lactation process, lactogenesis. So as soon as what is called the childbirth is completed, so after parturition, now it is responsible for actually the growth of the mammary glands, make it ready to release what is called the milk. Now LH and FSH stimulates the gonadal activity, hence called gonadotropins, initially I mentioned. And male FSH and androgen regulates spermatogenesis. In male, FSH and androgen regulates spermatogenesis. In female, LH maintains a corpus luteum. There is another structure which is developed. Corpus luteum is a structure which is formed, just what we come from the empty follicle after ovulation. Only the hormone secreted at the time of pregnancy from corpus luteum. So corpus luteum is a structure persisting only during the pregnancy. If there is no pregnancy, this corpus luteum ceases to function and that disappears. Okay. So these are the hormones of adenohypophysis. Now let's go for neurohypophysis or posterior lobe. Now it is called as a neurohemal organ because though two hormones, what we call this one, secreted by this gland never secretes these two hormones, namely oxytocin and then vasopressin. These two hormones are secreted by some ganglionic masses from the hypothalamus. I'll show that one. So this is normally nervous tissue and elongation, continuation of the brain, having the blood cells, etc. It does not synthesize any hormones but stores hormones secreted by the nuclei of hypothalamus, namely supraoptic nuclei and paraventricular nuclei, two nuclei. Now, which are synthesized by specialized nuclei in hypothalamus. So that's why it's primarily a storage gland, hence called neurohemal organ. It's called neurohemal organ. So the two hormones what we study secreted by neurohypophysis, not actually secreted by neurohypophysis, but they are being stored in neurohypophysis, but secreted by some ganglionic mass present in the hypothalamus, namely supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus. Now the oxytocin is secreted by what is called one nucleus, paraventricular nucleus. The vasopressin or ADH is secreted by what is called supraoptic nucleus. We can see in the picture now. Now oxytocin is secreted by, I mentioned about the paraventricular nucleus of hypothalamus, not by the pituitary gland, then transported through the axons of the nerve cells to the neurohypophysis where they are being stored. And then ADH is secreted by supraoptic nucleus, and that one is paraventricular nucleus, this is supraoptic nucleus. The two hormones are chemically octopeptides made up of 8 amino acids. Okay, both hormones actually octopeptides made up of 8 amino acids, hence the name octopeptides. Now let's have what is called the functions of oxytocin, the birth hormone and milk ejection hormone. It's simply called as a birth hormone, milk ejection hormone. It is not concerned with the milk synthesis. Milk synthesis is by the prolactin hormone, the milk ejection is by what is called the oxytocin. That's why it's called as milk ejection. One hormone is concerned with the synthesis, namely the prolactin. Another hormone is concerned with what is called the ejection of the milk, that is from the lactating breast after what we call birth of the child. Now what are the functions of oxytocin? Now oxytocin is secreted by, I mentioned about paraventricular nucleus of the hypothalamus. So it is called as a birth hormone because it is meaning for that one oxytocin, rapid birth. The meaning for that one birth, rapid birth. So it causes the contraction of the smooth muscles of the uterus at the end of the pregnancy and causing the delivery of the baby, hence called as a birth hormone. It is called milk ejection hormone. It causes the release of the milk from the lactating breast after the birth has been completed, namely the parturition, so that milk is being ejected from the lactating breast. So the first function, it acts on the smooth muscles of the body and stimulates their contraction. So that is why the delivery of the baby occurs. Now let's see, that was what I would like to say, that was the location that I'll go for the oxytocin. Now this is what we call hypothalamic neurons in the paraventricular nucleus, which secretes oxytocin. And this is what we call the neurons in the supraoptic nucleus. This is supraoptic nucleus, this is paraventricular nucleus, that one secretes oxytocin, this one secretes ADH. So after the release, they are being transported by what we call the nerve cells, axons, to the posterior lobe where they are being stored. From where they are sent out through the blood circulation. And we here, normally the adenohypophysis hormones are controlled by certain tropic hormones released by what we call the nuclei found in the ventral hypothalamus. They release some hormones, releasing factors or inhibitory factors. For every hormone there is a releasing factor and inhibitory factor. Releasing factor and inhibitory factor, and they are called as a tropic hormone. They control the secretions of what is called actually the adenohypophysis, either by releasing the releasing factor or by releasing the inhibiting factor. Now the hormones are transported by means of hypothalamus hypophyseal portal system. Now this is a portal system transporting what we have actually the tropic hormone, the releasing factors, or we have what is called actually that is inhibiting factors controlling the secretions of the 6 hormones of adenohypophysis through a system what is called hypothalamus hypophyseal portal system. Now the axons release their secretions into the blood, and from where they are being transported by means of hypothalamus hypophyseal portal system. Now this is the location of the supraoptic nucleus. Now what is the role of oxytocin? Once again, in female it stimulates the smooth muscles of the uterus and causes a contraction and helps the delivery of the baby, hence called as what we call the birth hormone. Now it also responsible for the ejection of the milk from the lactating breast. Okay, so these are all some of the functions related to the oxytocin. I'll continue further with what is called the vasopressin, ADH, tomorrow. So remember that one. Both the hormones are not released by hypothalamus. They are produced only, not released by not released by the neurohypophysis. The neurohypophysis only stores the hormones, hence called neurohemal organ. Now the secretions are mainly from hypothalamus, either from supraoptic nucleus for what we have oxytocin, or supraoptic nucleus for what we have ADH, and paraventricular nucleus for simply that's oxytocin. These are the two nuclei, group of nerve cells secreting the two hormones, transported to what is called the neurohypophysis, where they are being stored. The transportation occurs through the axons of the nerve cells, not by means of blood vessels. And we'll have to go for another hormone, the vasopressin. So, for the time, we'll conclude. I'll continue in the next class.